that they're changing my voice. So when you look at the situation, when they want to kind of teach people to do things, it's like they want to tell someone how to have sex with their girlfriend or their wife, right? That's insane. They used to try to tell me how to do martial arts, right? And of course, I'm 100% against it. This is before I even knew that the word martial is marital scramble. I knew that that was too much for them to ask, by far, and infinitely so. I understand that their families are, ballists for generations. They worship Zeus and Hera and Athena and whatever the hell, right? And they've been doing that for generations. And when I start talking about these things, usually my intention isn't to insult their families, okay? But it's the consequences of explaining why they're wrong, right? So I have to explain to them, hey, that's not right. That those are mere human rules, customs, and traditions, like it says in Mark 7, that you're clinging on. Psalm 45, it says, forget your people in your father's house. I've come here to do God's work. Even if I hated everyone on this planet, I would still tell people things that are good for them. Because that's doing God's work, right? Telling them the truth is good for them. And so it's crazy, right? When you see all the videos that they ruined, right? This is something that I have to live with every day, but it's not something that hits me very hard. Why? Because more repetition is my goal, right? It's not to make the most presentable videos ever possible. If in the process I do that, great. It's like if I took my wife to dinner, if I had a wife, and I don't have a wife. If I had a wife and I took her to dinner, my goal isn't to have the best dinner ever, per se. If it happens, great, that'd be lovely. My goal is to be romantic, to take my wife out, to enjoy ourselves, what have you. Okay? If I get a free meal, great, but that's not my goal. And so it is with these videos. My goal isn't to impress anyone, per se. If it happens, great. My goal is to do God's work. So this is key for people to understand. So when you look at the picture on the screen and you see that demon-looking thing, there are actually spirits that are like that. When we think about rock and roll, heavy metal, and you look at the different types of people, some of them are like that. There are serial killers that are kind of like that. There are weird creeps who are sort of like that spirit, and they're in the state of being, the spirit, the principles of, the essence of, the state of being, the energies of something that is kind of similar to how that thing's depicted. So people need to understand that they're actually on the top level of hell. They keep looking at it in terms of kind of social norms, right, instead of reality. Let me give you an example here. I don't just say social norm because I'm mad at this group or that group. I'm actually very, very right. Okay? So when you look at it in terms of, that guy's a creep, you kind of miss what's going on. A person who is very evil and demonic isn't just a creep. They're in a sort of spirit that has a presence in that area and wherever else. They're moving along like a spirit, moving along on a place where there's a bunch of atoms that are floating, right? That are in motion, right? There's nothing that's solid. Everything's in motion on a microscopic level. So they're the spirit, and there's these atoms and so on, and they're moving along, okay? And so as I'm in the spirit of righteousness, right, there's the spirit, there's the energy, there's my physical body, which is made up of these atoms that are moving along, and it appears to be solid, and it's in motion, my heart's beating, my brain, blood's flowing, what have you. So in the reality of the situation, it is not what you think that you see with your eyes that are reinforced with social norms and people's explanation of things. It is a realm where different atoms are interacting, protons, neutrons, electrons, muons, whatever, and also spirits, right? Collections of energy, spirit, principles, characteristics, tendencies, motions, movements. It's a collection of these things. So when you look at this situation, it's not a theory. We know spirits exist for various reasons, okay? The empirical evidence tells us. If you look at it scientifically, there's an overwhelming amount of empirical evidence that energy exists, motions exist, principles exist, righteousness exists, wickedness exists. How does righteousness change the state of somebody? What can we observe? And I don't want to go, on and on about this, but to make a long story short, it is a profound evil when people who are immoral are trying to tell you how to do martial arts, how to live your life, how to think, how to date, okay, whether or not to have kids. That is profoundly evil. And because of what they're doing exactly in the exact states of being that people have, the earth, the realm of human interaction, what have you, okay, when I'm talking about people in the physical body and their spirits that are attached to them, their souls, it makes up the top level of hell. Okay, as you get deeper into an idea, for example, if you run faster, you're not just running, you're running faster. If you dig a hole, you dig it deeper, right? As you get deeper into the idea of the spirit, the essence of the spirit, you go deeper into hell. And because people have chosen to do that, the spirit of righteousness says, hey, you want to go to hell, then you go to hell. And so they're on the top layer of hell, and they're going to hell when their flesh dies. Their spiritual state changes, their soul state changes, and they sink into that kind of hole, if you want to call it sinking. I mean, in a sense, there's no up or down. This is a more complicated issue. I don't have all the answers to this, but I have enough answers to know that that's what happens. Just like I don't have all the answers to explain to you what true love is when you have true love, with a man and a woman, okay, and what exactly happens, but I know that it happens. So if somebody was blind, deaf, and dumb, and they didn't think it existed, I could still say to them, hey, look, true love exists, but I can't prove it to them scientifically. But I could prove it to them more scientifically when we're talking about spirits and the top level of hell, the top layer of hell. Thank you.